Today, our focus is going to be on how to structure a report. So with essays, structure is hugely important because you can have, as it notes here, excellent ideas. You can have found the best quotes, the best paraphrases, but if they're not packaged in a way that your audience can understand them, that's really not going to do a whole lot of good. So we need to make sure to think about structure early on and to follow a logical structure as we compose our essays. So the next three steps that you see on your screen are those that we'll overview in this video and that I would encourage you to follow. So the very first thing that you'll want to do is write your introduction, and I'm going to give you some tips on how to do that. After you write your introduction, you'll want to create topic sentences, and then you'll want to read through your sources and flesh out those body paragraphs. So we'll begin with the first item, which is writing an introduction. So when you write an introduction, you really want to move from broad to specific. You kind of want to think of it like walking into the ocean. You want to ease your audience in, and you want to begin with some sort of a hook that draws them in. And then from that broadness, we'll kind of get more specific. And we will ease into what is called a thesis statement. So the thesis statement is going to be the last sentence in your introductory paragraph, and it's a sentence that tells what your essay is about. So for that broader part of the introduction, and keep in mind this is all the introductory paragraph, not your essay as a whole. So for the hook, that's the first sentence of your introduction. You want to begin with something to pull your readers in. So some ideas here, and you have some examples in your textbook of each of these. You can begin with a broad statement. So if I'm writing about, say, the Dresden bombings in World War II, I may say many people have not heard of the Dresden bombings in World War II. Or I can begin with a shocking statistic about the effects of it. I could begin with a quotation, or I could begin with an anecdote, which is a really, really short story. So typically people tend to use anecdotes if it's something pertinent to them. So if they're writing about an event that has personally happened to them, or say, if you're writing about the Appalachian Trail and you have hiked it, and you want to begin with 2 or 3 sentences about your hike and what struck you the most that may draw readers in, that would be effective here. Now, you can use any of these hooks, but oftentimes there will be one that's a best fit either for your topic or for your writing style. Now, keep in mind also, if you begin with a statistic or a quotation, that is something you will need to cite, both with an in-text citation and have a matching source for that on your works cited page. So the hook is going to be the first 1 to 3 sentences of your introductory paragraph. The next part of your introductory paragraph is a transition, where you start providing more detail about your topic and easing into what's called the thesis statement. So the thesis, as we noted, is 1 sentence in your essay that tells what you're writing about. On your rough draft, you can use a tentative thesis statement, like in this essay, I will examine the causes and effects of the Dresden bombings. But when you finalize your essay, you would want to remove the I from that. Sometimes people just like to have a placeholder thesis in there. So between the two, between your hook and your thesis, you want to transition. So you want to start touching upon the main issues that you're going to examine in your essay, some of the key aspects of it. But what I want to make sure not to do is use a whole lot of evidence, because if you use a lot of quotes and paraphrases in your introductory paragraph, you're really taking a lot of the strength away from yourself in terms of body paragraphs. So I would recommend not using evidence in the introduction unless you just begin with a quote or a shocking statistic. So you can ease in with kind of more specific common knowledge. And you'll see some examples in that in the sample introductory paragraphs that I've provided. If you are more of a visual learner, you can kind of think of your introductory paragraph as being shaped like a piece of pizza, because we're going from broad with the hook and we're transitioning in the middle into a thesis statement. So some other sample thesis statements may be things like, if I'm writing about the common cold, I could say something like, there are many symptoms and treatments associated with the common cold. And that tells my audience in the essay I'm talking about symptoms of the common cold and treatments of it. So in your text, I won't read these to you, but you will note you have some sample introductions. I would highly encourage you to read these, because you've got a sample that begins with a broad statement, With a surprising statistic, notice I do have a citation in there. One that begins with a quotation, and my citation is that author's last name. And then a sample introduction with an anecdote. In an anecdote, you're allowed to use first person, but do not use first person outside of the anecdote. So after you have your introduction, what you want to do is create your topic sentences. So topic sentence is the first sentence of each body paragraph, and it both relates to the thesis and tells what that paragraph is about. So you have more information on topic sentences and creating them in your textbook. So for instance, once you have your introduction done, let's say you're writing your essay on symptoms and treatments of the common cold, as I'd noted. I would need one topic sentence or one paragraph related to symptoms and one on treatments. And that tells me when I go to do my research, all of my evidence about symptoms is going to go in this paragraph. All my evidence about treatments is going to go in this paragraph. And hopefully you had that structure in mind before you began researching so that you can ensure that the sources you found actually meet the structure you had in mind for the essay. So when you think of your topic sentence, again, really think of the chunks that you decided to break your topic into. So if you wrote about a historical event, you may have one topic sentence relating to before the event, one for during, one for after. So in that case, a topic sentence for before may be something like, there are many events that led up to the Dresden bombings. And then during, my topic sentence would be, so this second body paragraph, the topic sentence would be something like, during the Dresden bombings, and then I could finish that sentence with an overview of what it was like. And then after could be something like, there are many effects of the Dresden bombings. Your topic sentences should not be quotes or paraphrases. Therefore, they should be broad, common type of knowledge. I don't want to get too specific there. So you'll note here you have some topic sentences, some samples for an event, kind of like I did with the bombings just now, before, during, and after. So what you should have at this point is an introduction, and you should have written out your topic sentences below that. So for instance, this is going to be a body paragraph, and this is my topic sentence. So if I have that, what I want to do, and let me actually insert a new page so I can kind of show you how exactly I would do this. So I'm going to scroll up just a touch, and we are going to pretend that this is my introduction, and I would have had my MLA ID block at the top. So the process I would have followed based on what we just talked about is I would write my introduction and then write out my topic sentences. So we're going to do symptoms and treatments, or many symptoms associated with the common cold. And then I'll do my other topic sentence. Many treatment options are available for those who suffer with a cold. So those are my topic sentences. You'll notice again, they're broad, they're not quotes. We don't want to quote as a topic sentence because that's too specific. So after you're at this point where you have your introduction, where you have your topic sentences, from here, it's just simple organization. So if you've done your research and if you have it saved or printed in front of you, all you have to do is look through it and ask yourself, okay, what research goes where? So I need to get all of my research that I have on symptoms and put it in my symptoms paragraph. All of my research on treatments, put it in the treatments paragraph. And if as I was researching, I came up with another one or need to split one of these into two, I can definitely do that. So just to kind of model it, we're going to pretend I've got all my research about symptoms in front of me. For a report, you will have more citations than you typically will in another essay, because essentially what we're doing is summing up a lot of information. So for symptoms, let's say I have my source in front of me and I want to start incorporating it. You do not want over 30% quoted material in any essay. So keep that in mind. You will have more paraphrases than quotes. So let's say I look at a source and I find something on symptoms. I'm going to paraphrase it here. Some of the main symptoms associated with the common cold are a runny nose, cough, and slight fever. So let's say I paraphrase that, I put it in my own words from my source. As soon as I put evidence in there, I need to put my in-text citation. So do not write a whole essay without in-text citations and then go back and put them in. You really open yourself up for accidental plagiarism there. So as soon as I get something from a source, I put the quote or paraphrase material in there and immediately follow it with an in-text citation. And then I'm going to keep looking through my sources. So let's say I have another source and I'm going to use a quote here. Let's see, one researcher found that, and I'm going to quote here, and I'm going to make up some evidence. Over 56% of people who suffered from a common cold had a fever of 101.4 or slightly above. So I'm going to have that quote and then I'm going to cite it. So, and if you need a refresher on in-text citations, make sure to go back and watch the video lecture and read the textbook material on that. And from here, I'm just going to kind of keep doing that. So I'm going to keep looking through my sources, quoting and paraphrasing information that fits here. Let's say I'm going through my sources though, and I find something really good on treatments. I can hop down here and put something in treatments and hop right back up here. And that's why I really encourage you to write out your topic sentences first, because a lot of times when people go off topic, it's because they read something in a source and they're like, I don't want to lose that. Let me go ahead and put it in. So they put it where it doesn't belong. But if you go ahead and kind of have your little containers set up through your topic sentences, everything has a place to go. So you give yourself the freedom to move back and forth. So you want to put your evidence in there, and you have some sample body paragraphs in your textbook in the fleshing out body paragraph section. So here is a sample body paragraph that you could look at. The thing you want to check for after you put your evidence in there, first of all, make sure you've not over quoted. You're going to have a lot of paraphrases. You'll notice I've got a lot of citations in the sample paragraph, but make sure you haven't over quoted. And the second thing to check for is make sure it flows. So sometimes when you're using information from a lot of sources, it can kind of, you may not put transitions in between sentences, so make sure you've effectively transitioned from one point to the other. So that's essentially how you flesh out your body paragraphs. The last thing to make sure of is that your citations do properly match works cited entries. If, as you're writing body paragraphs, you have to find new sources, that's completely fine. Just make sure as you find new sources, you go ahead and create the works cited entry for them, put that source on the works cited page, and then as you incorporate it in your essay, include an in-text citation. If you have any questions as you're drafting your essay, please do not hesitate to let me know. I won't review entire essays via email, but I am more than happy to answer specific questions, or if you'd like me to review a longer version, please don't hesitate to see me during office hours. I hope that you all have a wonderful week.